I think the overriding understanding of a board is that the board it's really kind of Matthew 20, verse 26 to 28. It's really the idea of servant leadership. I've been involved in secular boards. I run my own company, and frankly, I'm very grateful for the experience. But we're there to make money, principally. We want the right culture in the organisation, but we're there to make money. And so all our decisions really relate to, should we expand? Can we cut costs? Can we increase revenue? Can we make more profit? That's a for profit. And for many people who have experience at a board level, they can come into a Christian ministry and have the same mentality. You're in charge, you're calling the shots, and people do what you tell them to do. With a Christian ministry, it is one of servant leadership. So we're serving each other, and by serving each other, we're serving the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I think that's servant leadership is a good principle for everybody to have. So we treat other people with respect. We listen to each other carefully. If you're a board chair, and I'm a board chair, you make sure that people who are naturally quieter, you make sure that they hear. You can find on board sometimes people with strong personalities, particularly come from a secular business context, can naturally dominate. They're used to hearing the sound of their own voice. It's quite important that if you're a respectful board, you listen carefully to the executive, you listen to each other, and you listen to the mind of the Lord as well. So I think first principle really, I would say, is one of a mutual respect and servant leadership. And if the board models that, then it helps set the tone for the rest of the organisation as well. It's kind of top down. The board sets the tone with the chief executive, and even in that respect, holds the executive to account. But I think another example you find in Proverbs 11, which is that Proverbs 11, 14, which is, there is wisdom in the multitude of counselors. So I think it's been proven that making decisions on your own is riskier and less good than making decisions together. So one of the things that the board brings is the collective experience around the board when making decisions. Now you can break that down. Sometimes, trying to make decisions on a particular topic by, 10 board members doesn't work, but you can have committees of the board and you work your way through, whether it's a salary review or whether it's looking at property or looking at the tone and culture of an organisation. You can set up a smaller committee that looks at these questions with maybe just one or two members of the executive. But the principle of Proverbs 11 is that you're doing things in a team working together because you get a better outcome. The whole idea that you have a chairman of the board dictating to the board what you're going to be doing, or the chief executive dictating to the board, that doesn't work. Proverbs 11 says, in the multitude of counselors, there is wisdom. So I think that's the second principle, really. It's the collective experience being brought to bear. And perhaps the third point for me is right at the end of 1 Corinthians chapter 14, and it's verse 40, that all things should be dealt with diligently. I haven't got the exact Bible quotation in front of me, but it's the idea that things should be done diligently and carefully. One of the more boring but important aspects of the board is to make sure that there is proper accountability in the detail as well, not just the finances. It's the policies at different level. Is the executive at the level of detail working well? Now, that's not the same as micromanagement, but it does mean to say that is there proper record keeping of decisions being made at the executive? Are there policy decisions, policies on holidays, policies on employment matters, policies about risk assessment? And one of the ministries I'm involved with, we have about 55 different policies, and we as the board have to do our due diligence to make sure that those policies are there and that they're being kept up to date. So there is a 1 Corinthians 14, let all things be done decently and in order, even means that the board has to know what the risk assessment of the ministry is. So there is this kind of broad vision aspect to a ministry, but there's this third thing, all things, not just the big things, all things must be done decently and in order.